This is module 14, hacking web applications of the CH course. So we are going to discuss the concepts, threats, and hacking methodology in case of web application hacking. Then we'll also discuss some tools, and then some countermeasures, and then some security testing tools and how you can make use of web application hacking and pen testing. So let's get ahead by discussing some attack vectors and threats. So a major reason for such kind of an attack on web applications is unvalidated input by the developers. Then there can be a cause wherein forms are tampered on web applications. So if forms are also tampered, then that is also one of the major vector, the direction from which the attack can come. Okay. Directory traversal that we discussed in the last session, that user are able to access various locations in the operating system or the machine, like whether it is Windows or Linux. Attackers can access if web application or a web server has some the access which is not allowed for a web server, even that can be accessible to hackers in case of directory traversal. So then there are misconfigurations because of which we can face attacks. And then there is a major vector which is called cross-site scripting, wherein an image is posted on an on the web page or on a social media website, and then clicking on it can result into some kind of code execution. Okay, then let's discuss injections. So the attacks which actually allow attackers to access the backend of a web application, which can result into giving shell access. Like attackers can execute shell commands, or they can issue operating system calls, and sometimes also they can have access to the databases. So some of the injection types that you would see are related based on the mode which is used to do these injections. So LDAP stands for Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, which is like authentication and file sharing that happens in Linux and Windows using this kind of a protocol. Okay. Then using the files also, the injections can happen. And XML, the markup language which is there, and if there are some flaws in the logic or the data that is kept in XML, if that is manipulated, then these injection types can also take place. Then there are to traverse the DOM of a browser, the query language that is used is XPath. The way we have SQL for databases, similarly to query elements inside the browser with the help of a browser, you can use XPaths to get control over a web element. So if there is an injection that is happening through way of XPath, then it is called XPath injection type. Then similarly, we have OS commands and then HTML and SQL. There are some of the additional attacks that might happen on web applications. One is called cross-site request forgery, wherein if there is always a unique ID that is given to a form or which pertains to a particular session. Okay, and if that is manipulated by the attacker, then cross-site request forgery can happen, wherein the data might go to some other attacker's server, or it may go to some kind of a listening process on another server. Then we have denial of services, which can be also distributed with the help of botnets, and which actually results in bringing the system down, okay, and making it inaccessible for the legitimate users or the customers of a web application. Then there are attacks related to poisoning of cookies and sessions. So whenever you see a word poisoning, means there is some kind of a manipulation in the data with respect to that particular object, like cookie or a session. So if there is any manipulation that happens, that is also considered as a cookie or a session poisoning attack. Then session fixation is there, wherein a valid connection or valid session is created between attacker and the target, the server, and then it is passed on to a valid user or a legitimate user, so that user can make use of it. And then once the trust is established between the user and the target web server, that session is taken over by the attacker. So one more attack type you would see is buffer overflow, wherein legitimate memory is given so much amount of input that it results into overriding the surrounding area memory addresses, and that surrounding area memory address can actually fall into the kernel space or maybe a higher privilege user space, and it can result into another some kind of a code execution. So that's buffer overflow. Similarly, we have attacks with respect to storage and sometimes error handling. If the error handling is not proper, and it gives some additional messages which helps in enumerating about a web application more, then that is also an additional attack. Then we have attacks related to transport layer, redirects, captchas on the application. Then there are some times when even the authentication is broken. So you will find all of these attacks in OWASP's top 10 attacks on web technologies, web applications. Please, you can read about that. I'll just, it's there in the guide also, but you can also refer the top 10. You can also refer the website. Okay. So this content is taken from here. So you can see like top 10, the injection attacks are considered the top, then broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML external entities attack, broken access control, security misconfiguration, cross-site scripting, insecure deserialization. Okay. Then some using the components with another known vulnerabilities. Okay. And if there is an insufficient logging and monitoring. Okay. So these all have very small description, and with whatever content we have discussed so far, you should be able to understand it. There is nothing additional that is mentioned uh, in this website, okay, in these descriptions. But when you want to try the detailed attacks and you want to have an example, then you can also try uh, one vulnerable application called yeah, WebGoat and Wolf. Okay, this is going to the Docker image. Wait. So this application has been intentionally created to be vulnerable, and you have to use WebGoat and Wolf in conjunction to understand these. Okay, just pay attention to the warnings. Okay, and do not host these websites on public web servers, and you should have enough authorization before installing it in a corporate environment. In VMs and in your personal PCs, you can do that for learning purpose. Okay, so and try not to use it on the systems that you yourself use, like for general purpose and for your work. So it might make it vulnerable. So please have a look at this. So they give the Docker images, as well as they give standalone jars that you can use. Okay. and on you can specify the port on which these two applications should run. So it might not have all the examples that are there in OWASP top 10, okay, but it should cover most of these. Then we have also mentioned some of the sample applications that you can make use of, like DAM vulnerable web application, and as well as there's one more. Wait, yeah, and the juice shop that we mentioned in the last session, right? You can make use of that. So let's discuss about footprinting in general. Okay. So whenever you are planning for a web application attack or a hack, it majorly happens in two steps. Okay. So in first, as part of first step, you do footprinting, you analyze, you do some enumeration or probing on authentication mechanism, and then you try to do something with these sessions. Once you have information and enough information about the target, then you move on to step two, wherein you do injection, you do something with the data, whether you manipulate or steal it, or you interrupt services, or do some kind of an attack on a client. So it's majorly two-step methodology. Okay. Then some of the footprinting basics. You always have to determine the server type, and always use the scanning tools that we have been discussing in our previous sessions to determine the service type. And then second is use tools to interrogate the DNSs to find out the web services, and use port scanners to extract the server information so that you can like find out or plan which kind of an exploit will work against which services and on which port. Okay. And then you can use tools like Metasploit and to basically create that attack. Also know that there are sometimes hidden content and which cannot be enumerated without the help of tools. So to brute force these kind of probes, use a tool called burp suite. And additionally, you can also download the content locally, and parse the HTML forms and JavaScripts, and search, do some analysis by searching these for source codes, or additionally maybe comments or some kind of API that you can use for that is Burp Suite, Mozilla Web Agent Builder, and you can also use Screaming Frog Spider. Okay. Then let me just give you one glimpse of spidering. So I think I once mentioned that you can use this tool in one of the previous sessions, but I think we did not. I think we looked at a demo also. So it's a good tool. Majorly, it's to do audits and some SEO purpose queries, okay, for the website. But additionally, it gives you a tab of security on while crawling a website. So it's the tool's name is Screaming Frog SEO Spider. I have I need to update the version. Okay, so this 14.1 is available. So what you have to do in this tool is you have to just give the URL. I'll just take the example of certifiedhacker.com, and you need to click on start, and it will start crawling. Okay. So as soon as it starts scrolling, it will identify the resources and will categorize them as per whether the types of the resources, HTML or some PDF files or images or CSS is there. And you can actually organize it as per the hierarchy also, as to how the resources are organized on a website. Okay. On the left hand side, if you can see, the paths are also determined. So turbo porting. Okay. So It has completed like around 70% of the crawl of this website. And then you can have a look at the site structure, various response times. Okay, and this can be used for internal websites as well, and you can make that as this as a part of your toolkit. Okay, to get the initial enumeration. Then with respect to security, okay, once you click on the security tab, wait, let it complete first. Okay, it's completed. Okay, and let me just, okay, then you can for HTTP URLs, for any insecure forms. Okay, it has done some tests. Okay, on the headers, the content that is mentioned on headers, like X-frame options, content type options, and content security policy headers, right? And you can actually drill down on that by doing a click on the graph itself. Okay, and then the pages that are affected are listed on this. Like it is missing content security policy header on these pages, or resource in general. Okay, so this will help in planning the web application hack in a better way. Okay, so I'll just close it. Then some additional tools that you can use to scan for vulnerabilities, like you can use Nessus. It's a commercial tool, and the trial version is available only for 7 or 8 days, and you will need a corporate email to actually get a copy of it. And we have taken this demo already in our previous sessions on scanning. Okay, so you can do vulnerability scan with the help of this tool. You can do web application scanning, and also you can search for sensitive data. Okay, because it has a lot of plugins which help you in detecting the vulnerabilities in applications. Then we have a tool from HP which is called Web Inspect, that helps in doing security testing of a web application. It also simulates various hacking techniques, and it provides analysis of web applications and services. Okay, so you can have a look at that, and if some content is available in guide, please have a look at this. Then there is a tool called Acunetics Web Vulnerability Scanners. This also, I think, is commercial. Like, okay, and it is there meant for vulnerability scanning. Also, you can crawl the websites the way we did it with SU Spider. Similarly, you can do it with this, and you can additionally you can test various web services also. So let's discuss some of the authentication and authorization system attacks. Okay. So attack methods that you would see with respect to authentications are majorly user account names, related to user account names, passwords, and stealing of cookies and sessions. Okay. So for enumerating usernames, you can actually go on the target website and try to input various, bogus details. If the application throw like user unknown for the type of input that you are giving in the forms, then you can guess the usernames from that. Okay, and if let's say you have a valid list of usernames, and then you try to go on create account page, and then you try to create an account with that username, and if it already exists, then you would know which all usernames the website will not allow. Then you can also look for invalid email error messages. Try to create those emails by yourself, and then when you input, the error messages will be given by the application. And similarly, if somehow you are successful in basically completing the flow of forget password, then you would get a message as new password sent to your email. So then you would have to get access to the email that you have created by doing some kind of social engineering or spear phishing. So to get an access to the email to complete the attack. Okay. Additionally, you can create some common account names or apply brute force techniques to enumerate usernames. Okay, for enumerating user passwords, you can apply password guessing, or you can get hold of the list of common passwords. You can try changing the passwords, and again, you can make use of the checkboxes which are there on these logging forms, such as remember me. And additionally, you can use brute force methodologies to enumerate passwords. For enumerating cookies, uh, make use of the stolen cookies and techniques like eavesdropping, like sniffing in between by doing an MITM, or by doing script injections can help you in stealing the cookies. With respect to tools, tools like burpsuit and zap, this is again by OWASP, so which stands for Z attack proxy. Okay, let me like, I think I mentioned this tool also in one of the sessions, right? So normally people keep comparing OWASP Zap and burpsuit. Okay, OWASP Zap is free. Okay, so you can make use of this, and the community version of burpsuit is free. It's there with Kali. I don't know if it's there with Kali or you have to. Yeah, even if it's not there by default, you can install it. Okay, I think it has a Debian package, so you can install it. Okay, so then let's discuss session management attacks. Okay, so there are times when you can, with the help of sniffing, you can steal the tokens from the cookies. Okay, and to manipulate with them, you need to apply prediction, or you can tamper the data in it. So in the previous topic, the session fixation actually is a type of attack which requires tampering, right? Okay, and as well as prediction. So what people do is like they create random session IDs, okay, which cannot be easily guessed. So to prevent that, but if there are applications which are old and standard practices haven't been adopted, then you can apply, or some weak algorithm has been used to do prediction, then you can do prediction and do an attempt to guess the token and then modify it as per your wish, as whenever you are playing as an attacker. Then methods that you can adopt for doing token handling is by doing session replays, and proxy tools such as burpsuit and overzap can help you in doing that. And you can also hijack a session, or you can perform sniffing and do other man in the middle type of attack. So with respect, as you know, like with respect to web applications, they always have to persist the data and sensitive details. They always have a database backend. Okay, and with respect to databases, some of the connectivity attacks, okay, you can aim to steal this data, or you can block the access, because normally it is multi-tiered. Web applications are multi-tiered, so you can block the access to this data, or you can modify this data. So steal, block, or modify. So blocking is usually by DOS or DDoS. Stealing is with the help of proxies, and modifications once you have access to the system. Okay. Then you have common database softwares. You might have seen them. People keep discussing about these, like Microsoft SQL, Microsoft Skills. I think it's server. Okay, then Oracle databases, then the MySQL database, SAP Sybase. IBM also has database service like DB2, and there's one called ADA BAS, right? So these are some of the common database softwares. I've just listed them. So some of the attack methods against databases are like connection pull DOS. Okay. So what happens in case of connection pool is that the frameworks, the web application frameworks, which help you in developing these frameworks, normally has some configurations, okay, which can help you maintain some kind of connections with the database in a pool. Okay, and this is a configuration which is related to the database itself. So these connections are stored in some kind of a cache, which application can make use of in case it requires it. Okay. Now, what happens is, like, if you somehow, in a way, if you are able to, establish the malicious connections with the database, and you have exhausted the pool, then the database won't be able to connect with another or other instances of the application. So you can use connection pool DOS, and you can also do connection string injection, wherein client-side applications normally require you to define connectivity in terms of a string, okay, which has like server name, the database name. Uh, Here it is, like, let's say it's my database, and like user ID and the password. So there is always some kind of a convention. Databases have various conventions. So, and if you add an additional value with it, okay, such as like this, with a semicolon, you add trusted connection as true. So that is like an connection string injection. Okay. And similar to the term that we discussed as poisoning, there is connection string parameter pollution. Say you can actually manipulate the connection string, from my database to different DB, let's say. So name of the database is changed. Okay. So this is the way you can actually pollute the connection string parameter. So these are just two examples. Okay, so now let's discuss some of the security tools with respect to web applications. So you have like vulnerability scanners such as NetBrute, Secubat, and OWASP. Like OWASP is like Open Web Application. Wait, I don't remember the full form of it. Yeah, it's a security project, right? Open Web Application Security Project. So it has like suite of tools that can help you in doing vulnerability scans. Okay. Then for full audit and testing of websites, you can use tools such as Skipfish, WatcherWeb, and Sparker. So there are some details in the guide, as well as please search the web to read more about them. There are some additional tools like X5S, Spike Proxy, Rat Proxy, Website Security Audit, Vampire Scan, and NStalker. Okay, and with respect to tools, I would say if you have the habit of learning, quickly learning and making use of the tool for your purpose, it is good. But and try not to master all the tools, because so more or less they have like similar functionalities. Until unless there is some specific feature that you particularly would like to use, then it's okay to use different tools, which is probably missing like in one tool, then you can use the other tool. But for the purpose of exams and for general knowledge, you should be aware that for what kind of activity which particular tool is required. Okay. Then with respect to firewalls, okay, you have web applications firewalls such as WAF-RED. Then you have Vulture Web Application Firewall, EasyWAF. FortiWeb also gives a web security appliance. So major purpose of firewalls is to block malicious packets, like block the requests that match the signatures or the rules. Okay, and there are some firewalls which usually have inbuilt intrusion detection systems, right? So you can have a look at these. So Shadow Demon, Barracuda Web Application Firewall, Cloudflare, Dot Defender, Armorize, and Mykonos Security Appliance. So as we discussed in previous sessions, there might be some hardware-based firewall and software-based firewalls. And there are some layer 7 firewalls also. Okay. So with the respect to web applications, they're all web application firewalls. Okay. Now for hacking web applications, you can use like all of these points that we have discussed, or the methodology, and make it as part of the pen testing. uh, and you have to first probe the system, use search engines. You can also use robot.txt, okay, which gives additional information on paths. Then use the web apps, and like search for web apps and probe them also. Then do some analysis on source code. Also pay attention to the errors and the error codes. You can do search on the search engine. And also you can do enumeration on files layout, how the application has been laid out. Like you can look for files and directories. Then for testing the system, you can use methods like HTTP methods. You can also gain access to the admin. You can do something with SSL and TLS, analyze the source codes, or inject them with some kind of or manipulate them, so that finding out the vulnerability, you manipulate them, and then that can be maliciously, or basically it's called crafting. You can craft the source code, and then look for suspicious like file extensions. And also it's good to like look for pages that are created in old technology. Like if there are some old files, that is also a good resource, or uh, probably a location where you will be able to find more vulnerabilities. So with respect to authentication, for probing it, you can use methods which help you in understanding the cache. And you can also tinker with the captchas and password reset mechanisms to probe authentications. And for session management, uh, steal the cookies, employ session fixation, or manipulate session variables. Okay. For test data validation, you can use methods like cross-site scripting, connect to databases, employ SQL injections, manipulate HTMLs, or sometimes the CGI common gateway interface, and XMLs. So these are the points with respect to doing pen testing. Okay, probe the system, test the system, then probe the authentication, do something with the session, and then validate. So and then you have to create a report, so that it gives a proof of concept, and works as a proof as to, or instill more kind of confidence, in people who have given you the task of pen testing, right? So we have reached end of this particular slide, and in this session we are also going to see two examples. Okay, so we will be skipping the lab for web application hacking. We'll take one example on brute forcing usernames and passwords by using burp suite. And also I'll give you one demo on doing SQL injection to gain access to an admin in one of the application. Okay, now as far as summary of this session is concerned, these are the points. Like web 2.0 and 3.0 you know is quite prevalent, and organizations depend on these. Okay, and because of these people talk about web 3.0, and they usually ask as to what it is. So it's like you will see that various services are becoming distributed. Okay, and now they're being called as microservices. So and it is also called as semantic web. So attack surface is increasing because more of the control is moving on the client side. Okay, and that's why there is a large. So it's not like that for a system to work, there is a single host. So there are like distributed hosts and servers on the internet for a particular system to work. When, like, say you play games or you do internet chats, so there is no one single target these days. Okay, that's why there is like increase in the amount of or the number of attacks. So now some of the major vulnerabilities include injections, flaws, cross-site scripting, misconfiguration, SQL injections, and broken session mechanisms. Like and Most of the time you would find that input validation flaws are the major reasons for these kind of attacks or these vulnerabilities. Configurations do not follow standard and secure practices, and that's where the misconfiguration also is one of the major reasons. Now, best countermeasure against such attacks is to follow secure and standard practices and apply web application firewalls. Okay. So before we move on to the practicals, I mean lab, I want to ask you if you have any additional questions. Really? Were you not able to follow through? Yeah, I in between I faced that small instability in the network. So let me just walk you through. I'll just pause the screen for a few seconds on each topic. Okay. So we discussed hacking web applications. These are the objectives. Then attack vectors and threats. So we discussed vectors, then injections, the injections types, some additional attacks. And here I gave you the reference for OWASP top 10. And also there is a intentionally made application called WebGoat and WebWolf. So they will normally work in conjunction. So have a look at it. I pointed you to the GitHub repository. Then we discussed footprinting. So we already had like a very detailed session on footprinting. So I've just summarized it for you. So 2 steps, then basics of footprinting. Additionally, you need to look for hidden content, use the tools that are mentioned on the slide. Okay. For vulnerability scans and for security testing, I mentioned the tools. Okay. Then we discussed authentication authorization system attacks. Look for username, passwords, and cookies and sessions. Okay. How you can enumerate them one by one. Passwords and then cookies. Some of the methods for token generation, prediction and tampering, then token handling, replaying, hijacking, and MITM. Then we discuss database. Okay. Steal, block, and modify. Then the attack methods with respect to connections and connection string, connection pool and connection string. Then we discussed vulnerability scanners, like some security tools like vulnerability scanners, file audit and testing, and then additional tools. Then we discussed web application firewalls. So just the name of the firewalls. Okay. And then we discussed what you can do to as part of activities for pen testing, and you can hack web applications, right? You need to probe the system, you need to test the system, You then probe for authentication problems, then session management problems, okay, and then do test data validation. And in the end, we discuss summary, okay.